Perhaps you've already had the opportunity to see or even come across these immense prisms. It's Prismaphonik, an immersive experience with music and lights. As you'll see, it's an activity that can take place anywhere in the world. To find out more, I had the pleasure of talking to the project's two creators. William, Anthony, it's a real pleasure for me to be in the company of the creators and designers of Prismaphonik. Greetings, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
We're here, of course, to find out together what lies behind Prismaphonik. First, let's talk about how this project got off the ground.
The idea came to me while driving on the freeway. I think it was like a flash I had. My inspiration comes from my background, what I've been through and what I've seen through my experiences. I have a background as a musician, software developer and designer, of course. And at some point the stars aligned and there's a spark that happened, and that's what triggered everything else. So I spoke quickly to Anthony about it, and I don't think he hesitated for long.
No, it wasn't the first time we'd developed a project together, so as soon as we had ideas, we just throw them at each other, very naturally, and that's what happened with this project.
And now, as you can see, we're outside, right in the heart of the Quebec Winter Carnival. This site can be moved anywhere, under any conditions, I'd even say around the world. Tell me a little about the Prismaphonic concept, gentlemen.
We want the audience to experience the effect of walking through a symphony orchestra.
That was the objective at the outset, that we should be able to deconstruct the orchestra a little, that we should be able to see the different instruments, the violin, the clarinet. So that was the #1 goal.
And there's the music, yes, but there's also the lighting, which is optimized in a very intelligent, almost mathematical way.
Yes, because the other objective with the lighting was to treat it as a real instrument, so we didn't want it to be random or anything like that. The light had to have a real meaning and important symbolism. So we did a bit of research and experimentation, and I developed an algorithm. I got to the point where I found a relationship between the colors perceived by certain people when they hear sounds, what we call synopsia, and the sounds themselves. There's really a mathematical link that we can observe between the colors and the notes that these people perceive. And it also gives us clues as to how the brain processes sounds and colors. And that's kind of what I hate to say it discovered, but I haven't found out anything else about it.
It's a very universal phenomenon. People who have this ability all perceive it in the same way, I think.
They will perceive the same color for the same sound.
Almost in the sense that it's not 100% of people with synopsia who are all going to see the same notes, the same colors, but there is one main group.
It's like when we did an event at Domaine Mézeray in Quebec City, and there was a young girl who arrived. She has this condition and she really could hear the colors. She had her back to the prism and she could see and hear red and yellow, and she could tell it.
In real time?
This is a moment when we looked at each other and said, mission accomplished.
We have a little something?
Yeah, we were really satisfied.
Then you mentioned that this event, well, it's being held this summer at Le Domaine Mézeray, which is a park in the heart of nature. Here we're in the heart of downtown at the Quebec Winter Carnival. These prisms can be set up anywhere in the world, I'd like to say in any city. So how does it work, strictly speaking, for the person who's going to live the experience, who's going to walk through the prisms? How will they experience it?
It's similar to a concert. When you go to see a show at a festival, there are all kinds of people. There are people who just watch the show. There are people who dance. There are people who jump. It's really different for each person.
One important thing is that we rarely get the chance to hear all these instruments separately.
In fact, it never happens.
No, because we listen to the music in our headphones, on our phone, on the TV, on a sound system.
Even when you go to see a symphony orchestra at the Maison Symphonique or whatever, you're a spectator, you see the orchestra.
Is it more static?
You don't walk through it. So it's a pretty unique experience.
Yes, and it really allows us to perceive each of these instruments separately. So it really gives us a perception that's completely different from what we're already familiar with.
Gentlemen, in terms of musical repertoire, what can you expect from the experience?
In fact, in terms of repertoire, it's all the composers we know. So Beethoven, Mozart, Tchaikovsky, Vivaldi, and others are represented in the work.
It has to be said, though, that we've chosen a repertoire that's really for the general public.
Yeah.
So they're all pieces you've already heard in a film, on TV, on hold, somewhere. So it's really mainstream, it's well known.
Then there's also the fact that the repertoire can be adapted according to the event, the time, whether it's for Christmas, whether it's for different events, so it can be adapted.
We have about an hour of Christmas repertoire and another
Yeah.
hour of more conventional repertoire.
And then I imagine to live the experience to its fullest, yes. During the day, you can see the lights a little, you can hear the music, but it's really when the sun goes down that the experience becomes at its peak.
It was important that, even if the work isn't in operation during the day, it is still a modern sculpture on the one hand, and on the other, at sunset or in darkness, that the magic works with the light and the combination of sound.
And now, gentlemen, I want to talk about the signage. I was impressed by your concept of going beyond 2.0. I'd like to say we're into 6.0. How did you come up with that?
Well, first of all, our signage will give several information about Prismaphonik on televisions, with video effects. Visually, it's already attractive, but it's not just that. We also have the title of the musical piece playing in real time with its composer, and we also have Facebook likes, Instagram likes, and if, with our smartphone, we like the Prismaphonik page, we'll see the number increase and we'll be entitled to a little thank you that will appear.
Then, in fact, the pieces change as the work plays. So if there's a piece by Mozart, for example, it'll say Mozart. And if the other, for example, is Chopin, then it's Chopin that's inscribed. It changes as it goes along in real time.
It's all in real time.
And so
So it's interactive, but at the same time, we're educating ourselves through the works too, perhaps, that some of us will discover?
Yes.
We're right in the heart of our Quebec winter. On the other hand, I know that the exhibition has traveled through the 4 seasons. How did you come up with the Prismaphonik installation? How do you deal with the environment and climatic challenges, I'd like to say?
It was a good challenge, of course, because the work is designed to withstand water, rain, snow, ice, winter and summer, cold and heat. So in all these conditions, we had to choose components that are really very robust. There were lots of little challenges in terms of, for example, water drainage. So it's a work that's been designed for all climates, from the southern United States to northern Canada, as much as it's a work that's designed for touring, so it's easy to set up and disassemble and easy to transport. So these are all aspects that, in terms of design, we put a lot of effort into, a lot of attention to details, so that it goes well.
What would a site like the one we have today look like in terms of installation and in terms of moving it around necessarily when you're dismantling it?
well, installation-wise, it often looks like a day's work to install a work like this on a site like this.
With a small team, we're talking about 6 people.
And the same goes for dismantling. It's something like a day.
Yes, we always leave ourselves a little more time because, of course, there can always be unforeseen events such as the weather, which could slow us down.
Sometimes just the schedule means we don't have the choice of stretching out the installation over several days.
And is it easy to move?
Yes, the work is designed for touring, so everything is designed to make it easy to assemble and disassemble. It's also designed to be easy to transport.
How do you control the site and each of the prisms? Can it be managed remotely or does it have to be done on site?
Well, fortunately, that's another point we thought about from the start, from the very beginning in the design. So it's a work that has its own modem, so we can, no matter where it's installed, we have remote control over the sound, over the schedule. So if, for example, there's a special event, we want to be able to change the schedule. So it's something that can be easily adjusted even if we're not on site.
And that, gentlemen, is the big question. I know we can move this project anywhere. Prismaphonik can travel from city to city, as we said, from the north of Canada to the farthest south. I imagine that having a project like this, installations like this, necessarily has spin-offs for the towns hosting the works. How do you feel about the spin-offs?
In fact, what we've been told and what we've also observed is that a work like Prismaphonik will really, first of all, generate traffic in local shops and nearby businesses. The other thing is that, in particularly Prismaphonik, it will capture people's attention for a very long time, so we've easily seen people stay for 30 to 45 minutes, either sitting, dancing, or picnicking, as we said earlier. Also, we've seen TV stations coming to do their weather reports, so it's sure to bring life to a site. And even if it really does bring action around, on an economic level, it's going to have a really positive and considerable benefits.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure discovering Prismaphonik with you. Long live your project. I hope you'll be able to export everywhere.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For more information on the work, visit prismaphonic.com. As you'll see, it's an activity not only to be seen, but also to be experienced.